get a price slapped on your head.
Oh, jeez. I'm going to say a wild statement. Center backs, I think, are the best finishers on the team. Oh, bro. So
Here we go, the rundown. Hello everybody, welcome to the inaugural episode of the Love of the Game podcast. I'm your host, Jack Griffiths, and today I'm gratefully joined by the one and only Michael Creek. How are you, mate? You good?
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. As you can tell, a little bit nervous. It's the first one. Seems like inaugural is the word of the year here in St. Louis.
Yeah, honestly, it really is. But hey, if anything, like the first team, it's bound to be a good one.
Well, yeah, I mean, we'll get onto that later, no doubt, but it's been a hell of a start to the season.
It sure has.
Let's start this podcast. I've got something that's going to surprise you.
All right.
You asked me yesterday whether you need to prepare for anything. I said no. This is questions that you should know, but you might not about yourself.
All right.
Quick fire questions. How many goals did you score in your sophomore year as a high school soccer player?
Oh, geez. Bit of a throwback. Let's see. I think the first game I played, I had 2. I scored 1 versus Pattonville, 1 versus Webster Groves, and then I actually scored a hat trick versus Slough High. And they were all inside the 6-yard box. Fun fact.
I mean, the fun fact is that you used to be a striker. For me, when I found that, I was like, I never knew that. Your maths there goes up to...
7.
7.
Yeah.
You've nailed it. Absolutely nailed it there.
Off to a good start.
That is a great start. I was surprised you got that, to be honest, because I wouldn't have remembered something like that. This one, bit of a different one. Obviously, now that you're an MLS player, you're a professional player, you get put on websites such as Transfermarkt.
Uh-huh.
You get a price slapped on your head.
Oh, geez.
How much did you guess that your transfer value is?
MLS minimum, probably what, like 85?
Okay, so it says on here, 50K.
50K?
I guess the value. I don't really know how they come up with
That's
stuff
not
like
even
that.
MLS minimum contract for senior wage.
Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Maybe that's the transfer fee.
Transfer fee, yeah, maybe.
Before wages.
Okay.
I'm not really sure. I just found that, thought it'd be funny to chuck it in there. This is a different. Just finish the quote.
All right.
College is more than a degree to me. It is a way to help me prepare for life and...
No clue where you found this.
So this is on, I don't know, a high school recruiting website.
Oh, geez.
This is from your page.
I think about some of the like the emails that I sent to coaches and just how cringy they were, because I was just like, I just want them to respond to me.
Yeah,
I had no clue what to go off of. And I just think about it and it hurts to think about.
Well, so this one actually finished, enjoy what I want to do as my career. And you went on later on to say, you want to follow the likes of Brad Guzan and Tim Howard, and I just thought, wow, he's actually nailed it, because now he's doing it however many years on that is. What was that, 6?
Yeah, see, 2016 is when I graduated high school, so.
Right, and I think that was maybe in your junior year.
Yeah,
maybe, if you're
so like
looking to get
2015,
recruited.
2014.
So, fair play, you've made it happen. And then I've got some other little things down here. These aren't questions per se, but 42 university accolades on the MSU website. I mean, I was going to write them all down, but that's too many to list.
You know, you can just print things off, right?
Yeah, true. I don't think we had the paper. But
Yeah. Sounds good.
Low budget.
It is inaugural, all right?
It is inaugural. And then, of course, last year, when you're playing for the MLS Next Pro team, STL City 2, you won the Western Conference.
We did.
So let's start there, I guess. That was a massive season.
Mm-hmm.
How was the transition from playing in university to going now to, well, not now, because it's another transition, but going into your first professional environment?
Yeah, so honestly, I think Missouri State, like you were there obviously, and I think Missouri State did a really good job of like treating us as professionals.
Yeah.
And like just the fact of like the responsibilities of like if you're hurt, like you're going to treatment, and like you should go an hour early before training for treatment, you know?
Right.
And just like the little things, like having a fine system, you know? Like that's something that you don't think about when you're in high school, but like when you're in college and like you're leaving your boots around, and it's just like little things like that and like little bits of responsibility that like help you grow up so fast. And it's funny because we actually have a guy on the first team, one of the other goalies, Ben Lunt, and they bought him a little sheriff's badge off Amazon because he loves pointing out fines, and so he's now the sheriff on the team. But
So he's the one that if you've done something, you're like, oh, he's gonna call me out on it.
he's gonna sniff it out. He's like a bloodhound. But yeah, so I think like just that the culture and the environment of like putting pressure on yourself and training, and then just like the responsibility aspect of like you're gonna take care of your business, and like that what you off the field isn't gonna bother you on the field, you know. So you're gonna have like making you just a well-rounded person. I think Missouri State did a really good job preparing me for that. And I think transitioning from college to City 2, I think there was definitely like a standard that was like the new bar was set, but I don't think like the gap was as big as if I went from college to the MLS, because like that was like would be a huge jump. Like just thinking of City 2 this year, or like City 2 last year, and then to the MLS team this year, just like the standard and quality. Like I'm training with the likes of like Roman Berkey, and so like just his first touch, like his distribution, like his handling, like that, the stuff, you know, like he's been doing it, and he's a proven veteran. Yeah, exactly. So like the quality and that aspect is like a huge jump. But I think going from like college to City 2 to then MLS, they're all have been like gradual jumps, and it hasn't been like one huge leap. So I think that's been honestly like so helpful for me, and like just my steps, where it's like a little bit out of your comfort zone and like you're working towards it, and now it's like another step out of your comfort zone and you're working towards it, instead of like one really huge jump and you're just like, hope I stay afloat.
Not drowning in it, yeah.
Exactly.
I think that was, even when I was growing up, obviously I'm not playing to where you are now, but it got to a stage when I was trying to take it seriously, and my dad would always say, look, it's the ladder, and all you've got to do is get your hands on that next rung and try and pull yourself up. And I guess that sort of is similar in that sort of transitional stage of going, not trying to jump right to the top of the ladder straight away, but going step by step. And so what is the bigger leap, from college to City 2 or from City 2 to the MLS first team?
I mean, I think MLS first team, just because like, once again, you know, each level you go up, just the pace of everything, the physicality of everything just like goes higher, and then it's just like some of the finishing, you know, it's like it's class.
Yeah.
When guys are on and they're just hitting corners, or like the ability where like at like college and then like high school and stuff, like guys aren't as tricky, where it's like you can kind of read their body language.
Right.
But now like guys will purposely like open up and then close their hips to like sell you the wrong way, you know? And so it's just like little nuances like that.
So stuff with that, I mean, I know that we all have access to like video analysis and stuff. Well, not necessarily all have access to it, but like we're filming this, you can film yourself if you're in goal. But do you have like, are there analysts within the club who after each session are like, that's what you should look out for and stuff like that?
So so for training aspects, it's every day there's two film for the first team. There's two film analysts, and then for City 2, there's one film analyst. But they've got like drones, and so they'll film every session with like drones. And the first time we started training with City 2, and like they broke out of the drone, I was like, whoa, this is sick. Like especially coming from college too.
Oh, I actually think I might have seen, there was one of the games at out Creve Court.
Yeah, they had the drone flying.
And it was proper windy. And I was watching the drone and somehow it was staying still.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, so that one, it was a really nice drone, and it like was a bigger one.
Yeah.
And so it was staying steady. But they got one this year that was like a smaller one.
Right.
And one of the first like windy days, that thing was gone. Like I think it ended up, so like the way our training facility set up, it's like training facility and then like our stadium across the street.
Yeah.
And the wind blew it into the stadium.
wow.
Yeah. But it sounds like someone had to run across the street and grab it. But yeah, so like every training session will be filmed with the drone, and then
Every single one?
Every single one.
Wow.
And so every day after training, I'll get a notification in my emails, and it'll say like training session with the date uploaded to Huddle, and then I'll get another email and it's like GK session, because like goalies will go out and we'll do like, depending on the day, like 20 or 30 minutes of just like goalie stuff, like warm up, and then whatever drill the GK coach has like set up for the day before we join the team. And so like that bit will be filmed individually as well and like just sent to the goalies. So I'll get that, and like I can look on Huddle and like look back at like last month training sessions. So But like I think it's just like a really good aspect of like, because a lot of the times you'll think about a play in your head, or like a play will happen and you're like, oh, I think this happened. But like you'll go back and you'll check your starting position and you're like, oh, well, I was actually like deeper there than I thought I was, or like, oh, my angle was a little bit off there.
Yeah.
And so it's just like a little bit, and that's also the thing with just being responsible as well. And it's like you don't have to go watch your sessions or anything like that, but it's one of those things. If you want to get to like a higher level, then it's like every little thing to help you get there. And I think that's the really cool thing, and especially like being with an MLS team is like the resources are there.
Yeah.
Like
Might as well use them.
Exactly. Like the and they've even said like the sporting director, when we first moved into the new facility, one of the first things he told us is like, we've spared no expense making sure that you have all the resources possible to be at your best. Yeah. And he's like, now we expect you to use them, and take advantage of the opportunity that we're given.
Yeah. Because I guess in a really crude way, you're all assets to their company, and if they're investing, it's like, well, you better use it, otherwise investment's just like there's no point in doing it.
100%. Because I mean, at the end of the day, it is a business as well.
Yeah.
Like it's the entertainment business.
Yeah.
And so it's just like getting the most out of your investments. Like you said.
It's all about those 1%, isn't it? That's what they always say about football. And I guess if you want to make it to that next level and you want to get those little advantages, something like that is invaluable. Being able to go back and look at stuff. It's funny that you mentioned how sort of your memory can think one thing and change. Literally the other day we watched Memento. I don't know if you watched it. It's a film about a guy who's got short-term memory loss.
Oh, is that the one with all the tattoos?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So he has the Polaroid camera, and he's like, there's one part in it where he's going, yeah, memories they can change. Like the color of a car can change, a name can change. But if you got a photo of it, or in this case a video, then you're gonna know what's coming up. So that's just funny that that's come up the day after I watched that film.
It's also really funny too, because every every training session is filmed.
Yeah.
And so like we might be doing small-sided or something like that in training, and there'll be like a dubious offsides call, and everyone's like, I'm gonna find it on Huddle afterwards. I'm gonna send it to you, So like all the coaches, if they're like being lino that day, like it is the pressure is on. Yeah, 100%.
Well, there was stuff like that when, well, the standard of college coaching isn't quite up to the MLS. Let's be honest. Sorry, not coaching, reffing. Yeah. I didn't mean coaching. The referees that we've had in college in some games, I'm like, pfft. So I'll do the same thing. If our game's being filmed, I'll go back and I'm like, well, that was offside. How's he giving that? So yeah, that's funny. Going back to the fine master. Look, there's a difference when you go from playing in college when you're a student. What is the most expensive fine on there? Or how does it work, I guess? Do you do it similar to how we see in like Premier League or whatever, where it's like a certain price for each fine? Or is it just a set fee?
So it's normally, there's like a fine sheet, and like we've got like a leadership council where it's like 5 guys. And like before the season started in preseason, they all got together and they kind of like went through each thing. So it's like, you don't wear the right travel gear, you're late to a meeting, that kind of stuff. Like game day, everything doubles, and they just went through and like wrote out all the fines. So like it's all like set in stone and it's hanging in the locker room. And honestly, my goal is to never be fined ever. And I don't think I've been fined in like 3 years.
Wow.
So I don't really know what the most expensive thing is. I know on match day, like I think being late for a game. So because every match day they have like a time that you need to be in the stadium locker rooms. Because like the only way you can be late is be a home game. So like a home game where you have to show up at the stadium by this time, that would hands down be like the highest fine. I mean it'd be hundreds. I don't know.
Who's the most notorious from the team right now?
Honestly, everyone's pretty good. It usually what the fines are, just like someone leaves a jacket laying around, or like a water bottle. Like those are like the standard fines, or like someone forgets to do their wellness.
I've definitely got some of them.
Yeah, 100%. Like it happens every once in a while, but I'm pretty sure like wellness fines are the most common, and those are like $10, $20, something like that. They're nothing terrible. We're definitely not Premier League wages, so the fines aren't nearly as bad.
Yeah,
but.
Who's Who's worst? Who gets fined the most?
Oh, I'd say it's like some of the younger guys usually will forget wellness. Honestly, I've seen Isak Jensen. His name's been on the fine board a couple times.
Is it the same system? Whiteboard?
Yeah,
Your name's
like
on
we've
there?
got a whiteboard in the
Yeah.
training room.
That's crazy, isn't it? It goes all the way through.
Exactly.
Because like even the double on game day,
Yeah.
we used to do that at Most State, right? And then I remember doing it.
The thing with Most State that was unique is the flip.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know, at Most State, fines were due on Sunday. I used to be the fine master at Most State as well, so I know this very well. But for any fine that was under $10, you could flip for it. And all the English guys, because they were all slightly gambling addicts, loved waiting until Sunday to flip. And so
it's a good event.
Yeah.
When
100%.
everybody's getting round and you're like,
exactly, and the pressure's on.
Yeah.
It's magic. So if you flip and you get the right call, then your fine goes away. But if you get the wrong call, then it doubles. Yeah. And you have until next week to pay. And then a lot of times, and the thing is so like it doubles to 20. Well, you could either pay your $20 or you could split it up into 2 flips, 10 and 10. And so it can grow exponentially. And it got really dangerous really fast.
Because when I went to transfer to jury, they didn't have a fines thing. And it got to a point when I was just like, we need one of these. Mm-hmm. And it's a bit weird because, like you said, Most State's such a professional environment. All the boys are there primarily, not only for soccer, obviously, but it's a massive part of it for them. Mm-hmm. And then in my case, transfer to a Division 2 university, and it's sort of, there are some players who are in that same mindset, but a lot less. Yeah. And so trying to enforce something like that, it's a little bit harder. But I ended up doing the same thing, and it was fines double. When we did the coin flip, I brought it over to jury. But I forgot those little bits, lower than $10. I forgot that because there was one lad he just kept going up. But he would never turn up. So at the end of the semester, he had like a $150 fine.
He just loved it.
Just never paid. I don't think we saw him again.
Classic. And then last year with City 2, we had a fine wheel. So
I've seen
no matter what fine you got, you had to spin the wheel and then pay your fine. Yeah. And like some of the stuff were ridiculous. Like TikTok dance was a good one where it's like one of the players on the team, Akil Watts, would find a TikTok and he'd send it to the person and be like, all right, you have a week to recreate this TikTok. Yeah. And then you have to send it in the group chat.
That's brutal.
Yeah. And then another really good one was a mirror selfie that you had to post on Instagram and have to leave it up for 24 hours.
That's bad as well.
Yeah, those were probably the 2 worst ones.
Did anybody get them?
Oh, 100%. Those got like all the time. All the time. I don't know why, but like the wheel would always just find a way to find it.
A certain way.
Yeah, there was probably like 3 or 4 guys that had to do the mirror selfie, and at least another 3 or 4 that had to do the TikTok. And the best thing too was one of our assistant coaches. He like left his boots out on the field, and so he got fined, and he got the TikTok dance. And it was gold. It was gold.
We felt like we had a GA who came in at Drury University, and he had a TikTok dance like on basically a secret account. It wasn't forced. It was like from before. Don't know how someone's found it. But
Someone
it's
always
him doing
finds
this dance move, and he's taking it so seriously. He's like dead straight. He's like doing that, and we found it. It was just, it was
game over.
I felt so embarrassed for it. It was so bad. You've actually got me scared thinking about those forfeits. Because stuff like that, once it's on the internet, even if you're leaving it up for 24 hours, the boys are screenshotting that, and it's there for life.
Yeah, it's class. But like guys would be good sports about it. Like they would hold a sign that says like "Don't get fined," and like as they take the mirror selfie, or like they would just be wearing something ridiculous. And they would lean into it, which that's what it's all about. It's like it's everyone coming together and just like embracing it.
I think that's the thing with stuff like that. Even with this, like you sort of learn that if you fight against stuff, say you get a bad nickname, if you fight against it, it's only going to want everybody else to try and do it more and more, and then you're just stuck with it.
Who came up with the Griffalo? Was it you or someone else?
It was years ago. I think it was me. I had a worse nickname than now you think about it. But yeah, Griffalo, I think I remember I wanted to do YouTube when I was really young. And there's a photo of me. We had a like embroidery class or something, and I'd stitched Griffalo on a piece of like just scrap fabric.
What a legend!
And I had a photo of me holding it up. It's like a webcam from a laptop. And I just remember that, but I don't know where it really came from. I remember thinking
a great nickname.
Griffalo. That works. We'll go with that. Yeah. Just came from the top of my head. I don't know what it was about really, but it's worked, and here we are. And you've helped out before on the channel, on the video.
I have.
Would that be a year ago?
Yeah, a year, pretty much.
Yeah. I'm annoyed by how many views that got because that should have got so many more views.
Should have blown up.
It should have gone massive. Mm-hmm. It's still one of those where I'm like, I just don't understand YouTube sometimes.
Link in description.
Yeah, if you want to check it out because it was a blast to film as well. It was really enjoyable, and that was probably one of the better in terms of production value.
Yeah,
one of the better
100%
videos that I've actually filmed.
A couple of bangers in there as well.
Yeah, and now I can say I've actually scored against MLS Goalkeeper.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, that was a really enjoyable one. Obviously, you were talking about the standard of finishing. Is João Klaus the best finisher, or is it somebody else at City? In training, at least. Because we know in games he provides.
I'm going to say a wild statement, but the center backs, I think, are the best finishers on the team.
Really?
Because in preseason, we did like this circuit where like they would do like run through cones, like someone would be holding like a band and they'd do like agility stuff. And then they would get like a pass and like hit a shot.
Right.
And like all the attacking players wanted to like whip, like close their hips and like whip it across their body or like hit like top corner. But like Tim Parker and Kyle Hebert like literally would just like roll it into the corner. And like there's no defenders and you're like 12 yards out, you know? Like that's all you have to do to score. And like literally, I'm pretty sure Tim scored like 5 out of 5 on me.
Tim scored the first goal, right?
He did,
for City, so fair play to him. Mm-hmm. And I've been trying to watch all of them. I missed the one on Saturday. Yeah, Carl scored a couple as well.
Yeah, he
big
got his
goals,
noggin on him, 100%. No, but when Klaus is on, like, he's a proper finisher.
Yeah, I mean, you can tell he's just... That's the difference, isn't it, between a striker and other positions is when you're in that moment, the composure that you have to show.
100%.
Sometimes I'm running up the field and my eyes start tearing up because I'm that high up the field. I'm like, I'm not supposed to be here.
Starting to get nosebleed.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, fair play.
No, and the thing is as well as like, even if it's like not clicking in training, like the attacking players have this season like have just shown up in games and just like taking their chances. And like we've had multiple games where we've scored over 3 and you know, it's just like that ruthlessness. True. So, and like at the end of the day, that's really what matters is the games. So.
Yeah, it's the points. Yeah. Getting the points at the end of the day. Well, I don't know if I've mentioned it to you, but I went to the one. I think I did, didn't I? Mm-hmm. I went to the one 2 weeks ago, the 5-1 win against FC Cincinnati, and
electric.
It was electric. Tell you what, I don't know what was going on with admin, but we were getting nothing.
Yeah, I don't.
There was no updates. There was nothing. We were all there.
Well, I don't think admin knew what was going on. Yeah, I think that was the issue. Yeah, they didn't know what to send out because they didn't know what to tell people.
Yeah, we drove downtown and we started in like the edge of the thunderstorms. There's hail coming down. Bear in mind, in the US or at least the Midwest, hail is like half a golf ball size.
Yeah, huge.
Hail in the UK is like, I don't even know, Tic Tac size. Mm-hmm. So it's a different feeling when that's coming down on your car. But we got out of it, parked up, and then we were walking down to the stadium, and it's just like it's coming. Like you can just see it's coming, catching back up with us. And we get we parked like maybe 2-3 blocks away, and we're walking down towards the stadium, and the wind just starts coming, and there's like, you know when you see rubbish and or trash or whatever, and it starts whipping up. I tell you, I get scared in these tornadoes. I'm not used to it, so we started running. We went to this hotel, and we ended up in a conference room, just with a bunch of random people. Like a lot of them were fans for the game, and somebody was like, "Yeah, kickoff's been delayed to 8:40 or something." So we, after the tornado had gone, there was still rain and stuff. We sort of wandered out, got stuck in that. We were stuck outside the stadium, like, were they going to let us in? Like by the gate. That didn't happen. So we went to another bar, came back out, and it was a whole ordeal. But it was worth the waiting.
100%. And like props to all the St. Louis City fans that waited out because we were still almost a sellout with a 2-hour rain delay, and like the match ended at like midnight, and it was still. And the thing too is like the game started and like there was just like this buzz. You could just feel it in the stadium. Yeah. And we scored like after 3 minutes, and then everyone was going nuts.
Yeah. I mean, that is the first time I've been into the stadium. Casey went that's my girlfriend who went on Tuesday. She went to watch the women's game against Ireland, so she'd been in there before, the lucky girl. But it's different because they have the lighting before it goes dark. You got the fans with all the flags,
And they got like the smoke too.
The
like
smoke
right as
was
the
like, I
players
thought we were in
walk out.
WWE or something. I thought the Undertaker was going to walk out.
Dude,
and there was like the spotlight in the middle as well.
When we were at Colorado, they actually had like fireworks like for player walkout too. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, no, it was quite the atmosphere, and like you said, 3 minutes in, Stroud scores, and then who's got Leuven? Is that? I always get his name wrong.
Yeah, Leuven.
Leuven. I think at the beginning I was saying Lowen, or like I was getting it wrong.
I had to walk through with my dad and like explain to him that like in Germany, like the W makes a V sound, and he was like, "That's so confusing."
So I always get confused with Volkswagen because it's VW, and I'm like, is that just how they pronounce it, or are we swapping it up? But yeah, I mean, what a game! And then Carl gets his little head as well. Yeah. So it's quite the atmosphere. Do you have to, even if you're injured, do you still? So I know that from like other people that I know, I knew a lad who was in the academy at Brighton, and every first team game they had to be like just behind the bench. There was like a little section for players. So I don't know if you have to do anything like that.
We've got like a box for players, but it's like at the top, kind of by like where all like the broadcast people are. Like we're just to the left of it.
Right.
So yeah. So if like any unrostered player for like that match will be up there.
And is it like you have to be there?
Yeah.
Like if
I mean, it's kind of like unspoken. Like if you're not like in the team for that match day, like you just go.
Yeah. If you don't turn up, you're definitely doing a TikTok dance.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, for sure.
I was speaking to Louis Perez, Miggy's older brother.
Yeah.
And he was mentioning how for the tickets, even though you're on the team, you still have to buy the tickets.
So every player gets 4 like guaranteed tickets, and like with the IRS, like you have to pay taxes on those tickets if it's a sellout game. Well, the thing is, like the fans of St. Louis are too good. So every game this season, I guarantee is going to be a sellout. So we'll just have to pay taxes on those tickets. But it's like the taxes are based off of your like salary. So like if you're whether you're on the MLS like minimum contract or like a higher one, it like just there's discrepancy. Right. And so if you need more than 4 tickets, you can get like other guys on the team to transfer you tickets. Yeah. And so everyone was joking around, it's like, Roman, no one's gonna ask you for your tickets because no one wants to pay the taxes on because it's a little bit different than like the rest of us.
Yeah, right. Oh, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah. So you don't have to pay the actual fee for the ticket, it's only the taxes.
Yeah, it's just the taxes on it, yeah.
And if it wasn't a sellout, would you just get the tickets?
I'm not exactly sure. I think maybe. Probably.
Okay. Because I was listening to a podcast with Aaron Ramsdale, the Arsenal goalkeeper, and he was mentioning how they get like assigned a box to each. I think they share it between 2 players, or they can divvy it up, however. But they have to, if they want it, they can buy it. Like they pay the actual fee, like a season or something. But if they don't, they just say no, like all my mates can just pay for their tickets or whatever themselves. So I just thought that was interesting how like. Yeah. How it compares in terms of how you do it.
But there's like a family section in the stadium where like any ticket that like we get provided by the club, then like our friends and family would be in like that section.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So whereabouts is that? Is that near the?
It's like in the lower bowl, and it's like the opposite side of like the supporters stand.
So like the other end.
Yeah, the other end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, because when I came up, we were sat right near the corner where those first 3 goals were, everyone went and celebrated down there. Yeah. It's like perfect spot. I was like, oh, everyone's just there. Yeah, it's great. It's like unbelievable. But yeah, no, I mean, it doesn't seem like any seat in that stadium's a bad seat. No. I don't think this is just my experience, but I've never been to a stadium that's got such an open design. Like even in the concourse where you can get the food and everything. Yeah. You can just see straight through the field. You can nearly see from outside the stadium.
Yeah, it's perfect. And the thing too, I think is really cool is like it's below street level almost.
Yeah, yeah.
Like the lower bowl is at least like the field. And because what's really cool.
I never really thought about that.
Yeah, so like Market Street runs, and then there's like the stadium and our training facility. So like we'll park at the training facility, and then there's a tunnel that goes under Market Street, and like that's how we get into the locker rooms. Right? Yeah. And so it's like sick because you're walking like through this tunnel. And then like there's like this open space where you can see onto the field.
Right.
And sick.
That is cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the first home game against Charlotte, me and Casey went down and we went to Maggie O'Brien's, the bar just across the street. But like just before full time, we went like up to one of the entrances and we were just looking in just to feel the atmosphere a little bit. And like you said, City love their football or soccer, and they turn up for it. So it was quite funny being in the pub because there were some people who clearly don't understand soccer.
Yeah.
But they were still getting behind it, and I think that's one of the funny things coming from Europe to being here. Is, well, I don't know, it might not be all across America, it might be a Midwest thing and maybe a St. Louis thing, is they will just support the hometown no matter what sport it is. The other day we volunteered at the Battlehawks game.
Yeah.
XFL, that's crazy. I'm hearing cacars everywhere.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is going on? I didn't even know that was like going on really. So yeah, that's a massive shout out to St. Louis, and it's about time they got a team, isn't it?
I know. And the thing is, like I say all the time, because like I'm one of the few guys from St. Louis that are on the team, and when like they come, they're like beginning of the year, they're kind of asking me about like St. Louis and all this stuff, and I'm like, look, I'm not gonna say that St. Louis is better than New York or like any of these like big cities, but I will say that like what makes me so proud to be from St. Louis is just like how everyone just is so proud of their city and like so supportive of like the Cardinals, the Blues, like any sports team that is in their city, they're gonna go crazy for them. And they're so proud to talk about them. And so like that's one of those things where I'm like, St. Louis is the best at that, hands down. You know,
it's a different dynamic as well, because in Europe you have London's got however many teams for football, and I guess they've got some for rugby, but like stuff like that's two sports.
Yeah.
Whereas here it's like baseball, ice hockey, soccer. You got the Battlehawks, that's American football, like, and all of them get
huge support.
Tons of people. So it is. We've got a caretaker at Missouri Baptist, Ron, who if he might be watching this, he loves it. But he's like the sports nutter. He's like I don't know what the word is, but you think of St. Louis fans, and that is him. He's like all over it. So yeah, no, it's massive, and I didn't realise the history behind the fact that, was it the first World Cup America went to? It was like 14 players were from St. Louis or something?
Yeah, like a ton of. So it was when they beat England in the World Cup like 1-0.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple players that were from St. Louis, and like there's a section of St. Louis called the Hill, where there's like a huge Italian population, and they were from the Hill.
Right.
But yeah, like you even think about like SLU back in the day, like won some national championships, and just the amount of like professional soccer players that have come out of St. Louis.
Yeah, I mean, even that game the first game against Austin, the unfortunate centre back.
Yeah.
I think he knows.
He played.
You might have known. You probably played against him in high school.
Him,
yeah. So one of the boys on the team was like, "Yeah, I'm in the group chat with him," and he just like after the game, he's just like, "Oh, I can't believe that's happened," and stuff like that. But yeah, that's another example of players who are just like in the league already.
And if you think about like Tim Ream, who plays for Fulham, like captain for Fulham, he's from St. Louis.
So I always knew Josh Sargent. So I saw him at like an Overwatch or something. He was just walking out, and I was like the Premier League was still going on. I think he was injured, so he'd come back, and his wife or girlfriend was here with their baby, and I saw him, and I was like, "What is going on right now?" Like my
worlds are crossing.
Yeah, worlds are literally colliding. I'm like, "What is happening?" And then Casey was like, "Yeah, he's from here."
No, he played for Scott Gallagher, and then when St. Louis FC was a thing, he like played a little bit there before he went over to Europe.
Really, I didn't know that.
I think he was still in high school when he maybe played like half a season before he went to Europe.
Yeah, and then I personally, this might be my football ignorance. I hadn't heard of Tim Ream until this season, but he's
bossing.
He's everywhere now, and he is bossing. Like you said, World Cup of America did really well. Wales, unfortunately, did shocking. But yeah, it's like you said, that's that sort of heritage, that culture that's already here. And now that there's a team here, it means that all those players, instead of having to go elsewhere, can just be like, right,
exactly,
pin up either you, Miggy, whoever the other young lad is, the 15.
Oh, Caden Glover.
They can. You're that pathway.
Yeah.
They'll see that and be like, well, they can do it, I can.
100%.
And in your case, you've actually done a little detour going out to get to here. And it's just so much inspiration. It's funny because when I'm coaching I always go, what was the City, like if we've won.
Yeah.
I go, what was the City score last night? Like to start the game, if whoever gets it right first gets the ball or whatever.
Yeah.
And then it always ends up being like, oh yeah, who's your favourite player? And then every little kid, Klaus. That's all I'm hearing.
Dude,
Klaus.
When
Klaus.
they introduced like the players like starting lineup,
Yeah.
hands down, like the
Yeah, it's a
loudest
big
roar.
roar. Yeah,
I
for
love
sure.
them.
It was big. But like every time that comes up, I'm like, no, wrong answer. And I'm either saying you or Kyle. And I'm like, these two. Or Miggy as well. Any of those three, I'm like, no, like, what? Because, kids, they're just looking at the goals. They're not really actually looking at the game. And I'm like, just watch. Just next time, just watch them. So hopefully they'll see those pin-up boys and go, right, that's my route to the top. I can follow that. And you're inspiring the next generation.
Well, I appreciate it.
Let's roll it back a few years.
All right.
When did you decide I want to be a professional soccer player?
I mean, I think it was just one of those things when like you're a little kid, you always want to like play like your whatever professional sport, like whatever sport you're playing, you just want to be a pro at it.
Yeah.
I think probably around 5th grade, so I was like 10. That's when I like actually started watching soccer.
Right.
So probably around then.
Is that the Bundesliga?
No,
That's what I keep hearing is that was the first thing in America was Bundesliga on TV.
I probably was, but I remember it was like Santana Sports.
Setanta?
Yeah.
Wow,
And
that's a throwback.
The first ever game I watched on TV was a Celtic FC game.
Yeah.
And that's why it's my favorite club. Like that's the club I've supported since I was a little kid. And everyone asked me like, why do you support them? Like it was the first team I ever played. Like back then they were sick.
Yeah.
Like they had Nakamura like just whipping in free kicks all the time. And so yeah, that was probably around the time where I was like, yeah, that's what I want to play. That and the 2008 Euros was around that time.
Was that with the black and blue Nike boots?
Maybe, but like I just remember the ball, like had like the weird, I don't even know, but yeah, like that. So just like the Euros and just like the buzz of that, and then just like starting to watch soccer on TV.
That was it. You're like,
I was hooked.
Yeah.
And then I remember I like started growing my hair out because this is when like Pirlo's in his pump, like absolutely killing it.
When he was still in Italy, or
yeah, when he was still in Italy, I think he was probably at AC Milan. And like it was like Pirlo, Beckham, Ronaldinho. And I like wanted to grow my hair out like Pirlo. And dude, I had hair like there's only one photo that exists of it.
Really?
And it looks terrible. But I remember my dad being like, you need to get your hair cut. And I was like, I'm not doing it. No, I want to be with like the Italian soccer players. That's how they do in Italy.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I always go through, my hair's been all over the place the last couple of years. I dyed it blonde and then was just stuck with like, because I went all blonde for the World Cup for Wales. Didn't work. And then I had to cut it. I kept trying to cut it so I'd get rid of the blonde. It just kept leaving with me like frosted tips. So and then it got to a worse part where most of it had gone, but it just looked like I had dandruff the whole time. So I've basically been wearing hats for the last 6 months, but now it's finally got back to like a normal length. And then I go into the phase of, I've never grown it out, so maybe I'll grow it out. And I tell Casey, she's like, no.
No, I can never get it past the awkward phase.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because I said like during COVID, I was like, I'm going to grow my hair out. Like,
well, it's
this
like
is
when Shags did it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, when am I ever going to be able to do this again? You know, like no one's ever going to see me. Doesn't matter. And then like I just got sick of looking myself in the mirror, every morning. And so I actually,
what do I do with this?
Yeah, I actually had Courtney cut my hair.
Really?
Yeah. So my best friend Grant, he had like buzzer with the guards.
Yeah.
And so like it took probably an hour and a half, and we walked through it, and like she did it wasn't perfect, but like it was decent, for her first ever haircut. And then I think she got a little too confident. And the second one, I got a little carried away. And the second one, we were both like, I don't know what's different. And I'm like getting kind of like, oh no, she's butchering me here.
Is she showing you while she did?
Yeah, like we're looking in the mirror together, and she's like, it's not blending like last time. And I was like, we need to figure this out. But we ended up saving it a little bit. Like it wasn't perfect, but like for COVID, like there was a lot worse COVID cuts.
Yeah, no, definitely. I gave Shags one.
Did you?
Because he was like, I want to look like Peaky Blinders.
Oh, I think I remember this.
I've got a photo. It's just horrendous. It's
just like
like literally like the harshest. Because he had long hair at the top of that point. And he was like, just give me a bowl. I was like, all right. Just looked awful. I've only paid since I've been in St. Louis for a year now, a year and a bit. I've paid for a haircut once here.
Really?
The rest of the time I've done it
You've done it yourself?
the sides. I don't do the top. The top's too risky.
That's the thing, being in an MLS locker room, like the standard for trims
Yeah,
is a lot
is-
higher.
yeah.
Like there's boys going like once a week.
I
getting
bet.
trims.
Yeah, because I've heard stories about like Premier League players going once a week, twice a week, and I'm just like, whoa.
I'm now like 2.5 weeks. You know, like
2.5. That's
it's respectable. Exactly.
Yeah.
Like I'm not trying to break the bank, but I'm also like trying to like keep up with the standards a little bit.
Well,
you
the
know?
thing is, you're always on camera. You got to look presentable.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yeah, I know what the locker room's like. There's even a bit like that in most state. I felt with the foreign lads as well.
Yeah, but we had the hookup, dude. We didn't know how good we had it.
Yeah.
Having Nicolo and Joel just like NBG.
Joel.
Just literally, so I lived across the hall from one of the guys in the team that would cut hair, and so like just whenever I needed a trim, you just give him a text and walk on over, and he'd sort you out for like $10.
Yeah, I remember he'd never charged, but I'd always like you'd have to tip him at least a tenner because I just felt bad. I'd be like,
no,
I can't let you do that. For
I think
free.
I ended up doing like usually like 15, but like 15 for a trim, it's nothing.
Yeah, especially now, and you have to like go to an actual barber shop or something.
Dude, some barbers, if you want like a proper skin fade with like the razor, 45 minimum.
Yeah.
Nuts.
No, that's crazy. I don't have the money for that right now.
No, but I found like a pretty good place where like it's like 35 and they wash my hair too when they do it, and a little like hot towel.
That's
so
like
nice.
my place back home.
Yeah.
Same thing. You like put your head back and then like shampooing it first.
There's something about the hot towel.
Yeah.
Like every single time she's like, "Do you want a hot towel?" And I go, "Yes, please." And then
Of
she'll
course.
put it on, and like I'll fall asleep for like 5 minutes, and then she'll be like, she'll take it off, and I'm like, "Oh, sorry."
It is there. Yeah. The first time I was like, "This is a bit weird," and then you just like, "No, this is unbelievable.
Yeah.
You need this." I remember. I think it's Hudson Hawk in Springfield.
Yeah.
They would have the massage thing.
That was
mental. The first time it happened to me, I was like, "What's going? Like, why am I getting a back massage from a haircut?" But
I remember. So, do you remember Jordy Robbins?
yeah.
So, like, he would always go to Hudson Hawk because he had one of his boys there, like, would cut hair.
Yeah.
And so when Langan first came to America, he's like, "Oh, I come to Hudson Hawk. Like, oh, my buddy cuts hair." And Langan got a skin fade with the razor and his beard shaped, and it was like $65.
They were pricey.
And then he had a tip, and Langan was freaking out. He was like, "I've never spent that much on a haircut in my life."
Oh dear. Yeah, no, Geordie, he keeps up with his head, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Very manicured man.
Yeah, that is how to put it. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that's funny. Yeah, I've given up with the hair, to be honest.
It looks decent, though.
It looks okay now.
Yeah.
When it gets longer, I'll just be like, right, don't know what to do. I'll probably try and cut the top myself, and it'll just turn into a mess.
I'm excited to see.
Who gets the trim the most?
Lovan, like 100%.
Really?
Oh, dude.
I can see that.
Like every Friday or Saturday, like pre-match, like we'll get a trim.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On the day, on Saturday?
Sometimes,
I guess
if it's like
away
a home
trips.
game, if it's a home game, he'll get like sometimes I think he'll get, because dude, it's a 7:30 kickoff, like you're waiting around all day long. So at that point, like you're just trying to like do things to kind of like take your mind off the game, like just relax or whatever. And like there's something about like getting a trim, like that's relaxing, you know?
True, I guess if it's part of your routine.
Exactly, but like most of the times we'll go on like a Friday and get his haircut, but yeah, religiously, like always fresh skin fade.
Yeah, no, I can see it, because he's got the little beard as well.
Oh yeah, that's all lined up. He's I would say another well manicured man.
Yeah.
Very put together.
Yeah, no, I can see that definitely. I can't do the beard, partly because it doesn't grow, and partly because I can't wait for it to try and grow.
You saw me. I went a year without shaving.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
It was impressive.
It was.
There was two sides of it. I was like, wow, that's fair play. But then like I just can't do it. I couldn't get to that stage. Yeah. I don't think my body would be able to get to that stage either.
The only reason I did it too is because like this is COVID, like middle of COVID in the summer.
Yeah.
And one of my buddies is like, "You should just grow your beard out for a year and see what happens." I was like, "There's no way. Why would I do that? It's ridiculous." He goes, "Yeah, you're right. There's you couldn't do it. Like literally it'd be impossible."
Oh, he's challenged.
Yeah. And then I was like, "I'm gonna show you that you're wrong. Like and it's gonna be so easy. I can totally do it." And then like we needed to figure out like a prize, but like I was just like, all right, I'm gonna show you and like prove you wrong.
Yeah.
And like probably after like 6 months, like on my bucket list previously was to like grow a beard and like have a barber like with a straight razor and like all the cream, like just
Right.
shave it off with the hot towels and stuff.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you go a year, like I'll pay for that the whole package, you know?
Right.
So I made it a year and I definitely looked Amish, but I did it. So it was totally worth it.
No, it was, yeah, it was substantial. Mine, I just can't even get there. Not even close. Not even to what you've got now. I can't even get there. But fair play. I do. It's something that it's come back in, hasn't it? I feel like when we were younger, at least where I was, beards really weren't that big. And
Do the mustache
it's just
is a
taken
huge
over.
thing now too.
Yeah, I'm surprised Tim Parker doesn't have it because he's got the mullet kind of going on, the slick back.
Every
I'm
once in a
surprised he
while,
hasn't got it to match.
What he'll do is, so like he won't do like the wet shave. He'll do like keep like the stubble mustache and then kind of like have a little other stubble, but like the
Right.
mustache a little bit thicker.
Yeah.
And it's very subtle.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I know what you're going.
Yeah.
I know what you're doing.
He could definitely pull it off.
Oh,
couldn't
100%.
He could pull that like
100%.
I don't even know what look that is, but yeah. No, it's funny. One thing from watching it as well is the way that he and Kyle both run when they're like really trying to get to a ball.
Yeah.
It's like their whole body's like
They're
moving
just
like
big
that.
old beefsteak.
Yeah,
aren't they?
but they are moving.
Oh, dude, it's so funny too because there'll be like a channel ball and
Yeah.
like it's the striker and Tim running, and you're like, this is gonna go one or two. Like Tim's either gonna win the ball and absolutely crunch the guy, or
Yeah.
he's just gonna absolutely crunch the guy.
Yeah,
but
just
like,
nowhere near
no
the
matter what, like the guy is not getting past him.
I think that's what you want from a centre back, isn't
Oh,
it?
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
Yeah, that is. It's funny.
I loved him because he's just the most stereotypical Irish New Yorker you've ever met. But he's just such a good guy, but
Yeah.
like so New York.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, you know them on a personal level because you're in the locker room with them and you're part of the team. Looking in from the outside, it's harder to judge a character just of what you see in, like, obviously in the game you can't tell.
Yeah.
People do pick up certain things from the game, but so some of the press like conferences I've watched, and there was one with Tim, and before that I had this completely different idea of him, and then I watched that and I was like, wow, he's actually like proper down to earth. Looks like a nice guy.
That's the thing too, is like Lutz have said it a ton of times that like we don't have a designated player, we have a designated team.
Yeah.
And like we've got such a good group of guys, like no egos, like everyone. And the thing is like playing our style, like
Yeah.
we're just gonna run our balls off
Gotta
and
work
press
for each
everyone
other.
and like work for each other. And like after we've pressed, like we're all about attacking transition. So like
Yeah.
once you've pressed a ton, you're sprinting, like you finally win the ball back. It's a run in behind or like or like showing an angle for someone. So like you can't have an ego if you're going to play that style.
True.
And so we just got like a really good group of guys, like mixed with, I mean, you've got guys with like a ton of experience, like Berkey and like Tim. Like Tim's been in the MLS for a while.
Yeah.
I know Jake Nerwinski. I think the Colorado game was the 150th MLS appearance.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw the
Yeah.
post.
So like we've got guys with a ton of experience, then mixed with academy guys that have like signed. So like Miggy, who's 18.
Yeah,
Like,
nuts.
you've got the youth, and so it's just like a really good mix of everyone.
And you can tell that there's that team spirit. I know that phrase of designated team rather than designated player going around. And even from what we were talking about the fines list just then, I'm used to, you hear like, oh, there's one guy, he's like always late and stuff like that. But the fact that you like struggled to put a name on who gets fined the most shows that you haven't got those individuals who think they're bigger than the team, and you have to sort of, make adjustments for. So, look, I'm not a manager, but he's doing something right, isn't he?
100%, yeah.
Going into that on like the training side of things, tactically, like how does that work in terms of the breakdown of? So I've watched a lot of Arsenal this season, and they have 4 at the back, but every time Zinchenko's playing, he's coming into centre mid.
yeah.
And so I've been paying a lot more attention to how teams are building up from the back. Brighton are putting their foot on the ball, waiting for the striker to go and press. So when you're in training, are those sort of things that the coach says to you? And well, I guess you play a pressing style of play, so it's slightly different. But how in depth is that tactical side of it?
So I mean, a lot of what's helped is like the style that Carnell's playing.
Yeah.
Like Tim and then Jared Stroud, like they've done it before because it's like very similar to the Red Bull like
Right.
blueprint, you know?
Yeah.
And so like they've all worked together previously at Red Bull. And so like they've helped immensely, like helping other guys
Explain it.
learn it. And then also just having Carnell with City 2 last season and just
Yeah.
having that as a precursor, and like he was able to implement his philosophy and his ideas and with City 2. So like the guys that have made the jump from City 2 to the first team like already know that as well. So like it was kind of like half the group already had an idea of like the style and like how we're gonna play.
Yeah.
And it was just getting the other guys on board, and like they've taken to it super fast. But kind of everything that we do is in 4-day build-ups. So it's like match day -4 is
Right.
our first day back, and like that session will usually be match day -4 and match day -3 are usually like our harder sessions of the week. So those are more of just like playing. So like you might do like end with some small-sided games, but it'll kind of be like some rondo at the beginning, and then maybe some like a drill in between, just depending on what they want to work on that week, and then like maybe end with some small-sided. And those days are usually like the harder and longer days, but they're more fun. You might get more game-like stuff.
You're not doing like shape. You're working on just playing football.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then match day -2 and match day -1, like the loads go down, but that's where you got to turn your brain on.
Yeah.
And so those days we'll do. So match day -2, we'll talk, kind of like do film room and like kind of talk about like defensive structure of the team that we're playing and like do scout on them, and then we'll kind of like walk through it on the field. And then like match day -1, we'll like flip it and do like the attacking bit for us and like what that looks like.
Right. Okay.
And so like those 2 days leading up to the game, that's where it'll kind of be like you're getting the body moving, but it's more of like shape, structure, and just kind of walking through like how we're going to build out against this team, and then like how like areas we think we can exploit of like the other teams.
Wow, that's really insightful. You can watch the All or Nothing documentaries so many times, but they never really get into the tactical side of it.
Yeah, and also like they monitor the GPSs, like how many meters and like HDML and like sprint distance and all that stuff.
Oh, high intensity.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know acronyms, but it's
HTML. Did you say
HDML? But like goalies never have to worry about it, so I don't really know a whole lot about it. But
fair enough.
It's pretty much. I think the idea is like in a week leading up to a game, that whole week you want to like all those days, those 4 days put together, be the sum of what you're gonna do on a match day. So like all the total meters of that week are going to be what you're going to produce on that one match day.
So say for an outfield player, like in most states we used to have goals for fullbacks. I only remember that. And it used to be like 11 or 12k or something like that.
Yeah.
So throughout the week, you're only wanting to build 11 or 12k.
Yeah,
up.
you don't want to like go over or something like that, because there'll be times where, because they've got it like live on their laptop, like our
the stats sports or whatever you use.
Exactly. So there'll be times where like maybe you have like small side or something like planned, and then like you'll see like someone come up to the coach and like, they've hit their meters, and then you'd be like, all right, that's it, guys, and everyone's kind of gutted. Everyone's like, we just want to play.
That's the worst thing, because it's the beginning of the week as well, and so you feel like I could still go.
Yeah. It's usually on like the match day -3, where it's like you've had like a hard like first like entry day,
right?
And then like it's already been like a longer like harder session, and like to finish with something fun, you know. But like we want to save everyone's legs for like the next 2 days.
That would be. I'm one of those people that if that happened, I'd just be fuming.
100%. And like for goalies, it's like I don't have to worry about like my load. You know?
So can you stay out and do extras, or is it like? Boom, those are your meters. You're not.
Well, to be fair, some days, and especially where like games are coming thick and fast, like now, so tomorrow we play in like Open Cup, and so like if you're playing 2 games a week, then like they'll some days where if like the meters are really high, they'll be like, nope, everyone in, like no extras today. But majority of the times, like they'll say like, all right, you guys like 10 minutes, because they try and like give a cutoff, because some guys will just stay out there forever and just like their legs will be ruined the next day. And they're like, I wonder why. And like you took 100 shots yesterday after training, and that's probably why your groin's sore.
Oh, I remember once my dad had a chat with me, and he was like, if you want to try and go pro, you need to take this seriously. And I was like, you know what? Wrote down this whole plan. I was like, I need to do 150 shots or corners a day or something if I wanted to practice corners. And I went out there and did like 70. And my leg was just falling off. And I went home and I was like, where have I got that number from? That is ridiculous. And it's one of those sayings, I don't know whose quote it was, but it's like you'd prefer to do it once a day for 1,000 days than 1,000 times one day in terms of just building up that consistency. But that's funny. That's funny with the. So who's the guy? Who's the guy that comes over and goes, no more for the boys, no more small-sided games?
That'd be either Jared or Kelly. They're the people on the meters. Yeah.
So do they get stick for it afterwards? You
A
going,
little bit, yeah,
no,
come on, Kelly. But to be fair, like, some of the guys are like, it's been a long day. Like, just get me
right.
in.
So some of them are like, yeah, get me in the ice bath.
It's a bit mixed, but yeah.
Cool. In terms of recovery and stuff like that, so you have the game. Normally, the MLS games are on Saturday for the first team and Sunday for the STL City 2, right?
Yeah.
Monday you're back in?
So it depends. If it is a home game, then they'll have us like come in the next day, and it'll be kind of like a split group. So like Saturday game, Sunday they'll push it back because from our normal time, everyone has to arrive at like 9:30ish.
Right.
But like they'll push it back like an hour or two, just depending on when the game ends, so you can get like some more sleep. And then it'll be like guys that play heavy minutes will do like regen, and then guys that maybe played a little minutes or like didn't get into the game, they'll do like a sessioning, proper get after it,
right,
to kind of like make up and be on level terms, like meter wise.
Yeah.
And then like the day after, like so the Monday would be like our off day, and then Tuesday we'd be back at it for the like match day -4. But if it's
I see.
But if it's an away trip, like if you're, because the thing is we're in the West, so like when we're flying back from, say, like when they went to Portland, so
time, didn't even think about that.
Yeah, so when they went to Portland, it was like a 7:30 kickoff game, so they finished
In
2
Portland,
hours,
right?
9:30 was when they finished, and then like you got to shower, everyone has to eat, get ready, then you'll bus to like the plane, and then they'll fly back directly after the match because they fly private.
Yeah.
So they didn't get back. And the thing is, like, they lose 2 hours because of time change. Plus, it was daylight savings, so they lost another hour.
That's a killer.
So they got back at like 7:30 a.m., 7 o'clock a.m. Like some of these guys back to their house.
On the Sunday.
Yeah. And so, like, if it's a long trip like that
day.
where they're getting back super early in the morning, then they'll give Sunday off to just like sleep in, recoup, and then Monday off usually.
God. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but like even on those,
forgot about the time change because that's something that in Europe that you don't really get as much unless you're playing Champions League.
100%.
Yeah,
and like if we were in the Eastern Conference, like we would be getting the benefit of that, you know, because like East you jump forward an hour and then when you fly back you get another hour's sleep. But like this is total killer because like you're losing 2 hours and then
I wonder if that statistically has any effect on, you know, when it comes together at the end.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, so far.
Also, why is St. Louis in the Western Conference?
I think to even out numbers because because
otherwise it feels we're close to the East.
Yeah,
maybe
I'm pretty sure it's to even out like numbers and conferences.
Right. Okay, that makes sense. Mm-hmm. Speaking to Opal, and when he was it North Carolina? I can't remember if he was in North or South. I always get it wrong. Mm-hmm. But he was close to Charlotte FC, and he said their first year it was like packed out.
Yeah.
Like you couldn't get a ticket, and now the ticket prices have slightly started to go back to a normal MLS. Because I was looking at the tickets for your game in Utah or in Real Salt It was like $17.
Yeah.
I was like,
to be fair though, did you watch the game?
Yeah.
There wasn't many people there.
Did you travel for that one?
No, I didn't.
Because that was, they kept going on about altitude.
Yeah.
And then I was just seeing the mountains. I was like, nah.
It was funny because before the Salt Lake game, Roman goes, Salt Lake away and Colorado away are my only 2 opportunities to score this year because of the altitude.
That's funny.
He's like, every time I get the ball, I'm shooting.
That's funny. What's it like having him? Because like you mentioned earlier, he's got so much experience. Mm-hmm. Played in Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund, right?
Yeah.
For a long time.
Mm-hmm.
I've just asked you the question, but I'm going to say what I presume. He's like must be giving you so many tips, and there's so much stuff you can learn from him.
100%. Like I'm just trying to be a sponge around him, honestly.
Yeah.
And the thing is too, like he's a great guy, and like he's an open book. Like if you ask him a question, like he's happy to talk about it. And the thing is, like it might not be so much of like him saying like, oh, maybe you should do this, but it's just like watching him and just being like, okay, he does that there, and like just for him, his style of playing is like so aggressive, and it's just like seeing his starting position and just like I'd be like, if I'm standing there, I'd be like, I'm pretty high up here, but
Right.
like he's able to cut out so many things and just be so preventative. And like, yeah, he might not be making a save in that instance, but like he's preventing the save from even like being an option, you know. And I think like so his sweeping and just like his distribution, I think are just the two things that makes him stand out so much.
Yeah.
And like just being able to kind of like gauge myself and just like see his starting position like based off like where I'm starting and just like his ideas on the ball, because I tell people all the time like when it's a goal kick and he has the ball, he does this so well where he just like drops this ball like right on the 10 on like in our half, like underside of the circle, and he finds the moments where he can just like clip it right on him.
Right.
Where like normally if you just clip a ball in there, the center back's just gonna win it and like head it down your throat.
Yeah.
But, like he finds these moments perfectly where he just like drops it on him, the 10 brings it down and then we're out.
Yeah,
and he's just like overplayed like 5 of their attacking players, you know?
Yeah. I remember when I first got to Mo State, so I got there in, we mentioned this earlier, I got there in spring of 2018, and I was doing a little bit of research, as you could tell from those amazing questions, and that was your, I guess the fall of 2018 was sort of your breakthrough season at Mo State, and I remember you working a lot on your distribution, on your kicking, because that was something that Seabolt would always go, you've got to reach like halfway or something.
Yeah, 100%.
So, like you mentioned, Berkey's distribution is great, and the way that he can clip it in there. It's harder for outfield players to understand those aspects of the role of being a keeper. So when you say like his distribution is amazing, is it because that's a culmination of timing, the fact that he can actually technically do it? What other parts are there that go into just the distribution side of it?
I mean, honestly, it's just like reading what like the team's giving you too, because you might like match like lead up to a team, like you'll do a scout of like how they're pressing you, and like you can do all this preparation, but like on the day they might have completely changed how they're going to press you.
Well,
you know, and so like you might have this plan and like this idea in your mind of like, oh, we're gonna like play the outside back and they're gonna come shallow and all this stuff, but like if they're stepping up and they're preventing that, well, then you got to like pivot. And he just does such a good job of just reading the spaces on the field and just like finding the best like the best choice.
Yeah, like the optimal ball, I guess, to get out. And then you mentioned aggressiveness as well. Is that more so, say, that's to do with his positioning? Is that what you're talking about in terms of if you're up the field, where he's starting and in terms of spacing?
Yeah, so pretty much it's just like spacing between like the back line and you and just kind of the distance between. And so like if it's a ball over the top or like a through ball in behind, like being able to come out of your box and just clean it up.
So that's that sweeping element
yeah, 100%.
You're talking about.
And then also just like space defending, so like wide free kicks or corners, just being aggressive off your line and like just coming and dominating the space. And like he has done that so well this season.
Yeah.
And I think like the first couple of games that we had, really, we didn't concede many like shots. I think the thing is like we conceded maybe like 1 or 2 opportunities, but they were just high scoring opportunities, you know? So people don't see him making all these saves and like, oh, like yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
But the thing is like if you watch back those games, he absolutely dominates the space. Like the Austin game, like first 5 minutes they get a long throw and he just comes up big and like claims it and just like settles everything, you know? Like it was our goalie coach, Alex Langer, was talking about like you could just feel on the bench, like once he comes out, claims that ball, everyone just like took a sigh. We're like, okay, we got this, you know? And
it's funny how that's just projected from the goalkeeper position as well. Because as an outfield player, if I've got somebody in goal who's been a bit rash, you're instantly thinking, oh, like, is he going to win that? He's coming out for that. I'm going to have to run behind him to like.
You don't know what to expect.
Yeah, exactly. And when, like you said, if someone like just comes out and is commanding in that area, it just settles everybody, and it's just like, right, no need to worry about that. We'll go forward.
Now I can just focus on me.
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. Yeah, there's a big enough problem.
Yeah.
Wow, that's I mean, that's something that I noticed in those first couple of games, because he was coming out, and he was either claiming it or punching it, getting it away. And
dude, he's so athletic too.
Really?
Like, dude, he's 32, but like So we'll do match day -3 is our power and speed day, and so we'll do like lift, and then like we'll go out and do a couple sprints, and like he's dusted me, bro.
Really?
He's absolutely
Flying.
dusted me. Yeah.
So I remember we used to do those sprints into the stadium. What was that? Plaster
The incline,
Stadium?
yeah, the incline
I
one.
was so slow on those.
Yeah.
Well, I was slow in general. It's funny, right? So at Mo State, I was like notorious for being really slow when I was there, and I've slowly got faster as I've gone to different schools. So I've gone to Drury. I don't think I've actually got faster. I think just that other people have got slower around me. So at Mo State, I was like bottom 2 at one semester. I think it was me and what was his name? Ian Hansen's friend. Oh, I've forgotten his name. But it was just between me and him, and there was like a bin on the field. We had to run around. We did like a sprinting drill. And then I've gone to Drury, and I'm like, comparatively, I've got faster. And now I'm at Mo State, people are like, yeah, they're like, the conversation of slowest player doesn't come up, and they go, yeah, Griff. They're like, no, yeah, he's actually quite fast. It's somebody else. And I'm just like,
You're like,
yeah,
let's go. Get in
level.
there.
Yeah, exactly. No, that's funny. You mentioned earlier the day after a game day, say it was at home. What was that term you used for the day before you had a day off? You said on Sunday.
Oh, like a regen day?
Yeah, regen. Yeah. So what's behind that? Why is it called that?
Was it regeneration? I think.
Well, like, yeah, I guess so.
Like, so pretty much, like most players after a game, if you've played a full 90, your body's just ruined.
Yeah.
And also, it's a bit different for like goalies, but like I've noticed that. Did that thing cut out?
That's right. That one's still
okay.
on. I'll click that in a bit.
But most players like just don't sleep after games. Like their adrenaline's pumping and they just can't go to bed till like 3, 4 a.m.
Definitely felt that before. Yeah.
So like most guys haven't had a good night's sleep. Their body's ruined the next day, and so like for those heavy minute guys, like the regen day will just be like get the blood flowing a little bit, like on the bike or like maybe a jogger on the pitch, just kind of like flush out the lactic acid,
right?
And then like get like a stretch. Usually Kelly, one of our strength coaches, she'll do like yoga with like the first team or the guys that got like heavy minutes.
Yeah.
We'll do like yoga with them, and then you'll get like ice baths, massage, whatever you need to kind of get you ready for the first day back.
So you have that regen day, then normally a day off?
Yeah, usually it's that.
So a day off not required to come in at all, or do you do like a little bit of film? Or?
Nah, so like if it's an off day, usually like
you're free.
Yeah, you're free. But if it's like if you've got like an injury or something that's bothering you, like it's one of those things like keeping yourself professional. Like if you don't come in, they're gonna be like, bro, come on.
Yeah.
Like
you're still
take care of
injured,
yourself. Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. So like usually if you've got like an injury or a knock or something, you'll come in, take care of that. And like it's also one of those things like even if it's off day, you can totally come in and like get a lift in if you want.
Yeah.
Or just like go roll out and then like use like a cold tub or something like that.
Yeah. So you got ice baths.
We got some nice stuff.
Hot tubs.
So we got.
Have you got a Kyro?
Oh, bro. So
here we go. The rundown.
We've got ice tubs. We've got a hot tub. We've got a steam room.
Nice.
A sauna.
Yeah.
We've got like this underwater treadmill for like guys doing rehab.
Oh yeah.
It's sick.
To
like
take off
the
the
floor
weight of
comes
gravity,
up.
right?
Yeah, like the floor comes up and like lowers you in. And then they've got like a cryo chamber.
Wow.
And like the cryo chamber like changes colors too. It's sick.
LEDs in there.
Dude, like it's how many
times have you used it? A lot.
I used it a lot at the beginning, but like I don't know how I feel about it, but like it's crazy because the number they tell you is like negative like something.
Yeah.
And I'm like, there's no way this is actually that cold, but it's crazy. And like, you gotta wear like gloves, you gotta wear like ear things, like a mask to protect your nose so you don't get frostbite.
Yeah.
But I usually use the steam room. That's my favorite.
Yeah.
And like, cause the sauna is really nice, but it takes forever to heat up. With the steam room, like it just gets hot right away.
Okay, yeah.
But like,
I always see I've never tried the Kyro thing. Or is it Kyro or
cryo?
Cryo.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. But you always see them and see the players in like their gloves and stuff.
Yeah.
You're like, what science is going on here?
Mm-hmm. I think it's one of those things where it's like the benefits you don't really like immediately feel. It's more of like what's working behind the scenes kind of deal. I don't know.
Yeah.
But someone was telling me that like it's helped them like with their sleep so much.
Really?
Yeah, where like they'll do it and then like that night they'll sleep super well.
Well, that's something that I was going to ask because sleep, like all these little things, I have some vague interest in, and then eventually I'll delve into them a little bit. So I read this book recently about sleep and the importance of it. And I'll have to find the book after and show it to you, but it's bonkers how much sleep actually affects us.
Yeah.
Do they monitor that for you?
Sort of. So every morning you'll get like, they've got this app called SAP. And so every morning you'll get a little notification from SAP and you got to fill out wellness.
Right.
So like on that, it'll be a couple questions like, how did you sleep last night? And it's like a little scale. You'll slide like very good.
Similar to how we were at my state,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Okay. And then like how many hours you slept.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, just be honest about it. Like there's no point like lying of how you slept and stuff.
Of course.
But I guess that'd be like kind of the only way they really monitor it.
Right. I was just like when we were talking about the time changing and stuff, I was like, God, that must mess up your clock so much.
Yeah, 100%.
In terms of when you go to sleep and stuff like that.
100%. Yeah,
no, like you've just been through all those different things you got there.
Yeah, 100%. And then like Carolyn also, and the cool thing too is like you see the owners, like they're there regularly,
right?
And like they'll come into the locker room after a game and they'll talk to us, yeah. And like you see so many faces where so many times at a club, from hearing from other guys that have been in MLS for a while, is like you like have heard their name, but like you've never seen their face. Yeah, or like you see them once a year, like for the first home game.
Yeah,
where like these people you see are like day in day out pretty much.
Really?
It's, for the most part, yeah. Like you at least see them weekly.
Wow,
which is really cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that just brings back to, it's not just a team on the field. It's not. I guess instead of calling it a club, it's a team all the way through. And I think you can even tell that they've just done such an amazing job with making sure St. Louis feels a part of their actual soccer team, even from the restaurants in the stadium and stuff like that. I mean, we went there. I've never had Beast before because every time I've tried to go, it's been closed. Yeah. Because their hours are weird. I don't know why. But yeah, like seeing that in the stadium, I obviously had to get some. Of course, can't go without that. Set me back a bit, but you know.
Yeah, stadium prices.
Yeah. Whew, that's a haircut gone. But yeah, I mean, the way that they've just gone about everything is they're so conscious of making it St. Louis based, and that just adds to the community feeling, I guess.
And I love T-Rav, man, too. I love how they've just like taken that and just ran with it.
There was one guy, right?
Yeah.
And then when we went to the game, there was another guy. He didn't look like the same fella, but he had the same head.
I'm pretty sure they've started selling just like the toasted ravioli heads.
They've fully jumped on it.
Yeah.
Because I saw that kit, the jersey, like the
limited
edition jersey.
I've got one, yeah.
Is it here?
Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to see that later. Yeah, because I looked at it and I was like, the designers really...
They did a good job.
Yeah, but I mean, he's a pretty famous designer as well, right?
He's made
some other kits that... He's made an Arsenal... I saw he's done an Arsenal one and I was like, oh, I'm jealous of that. Because obviously I'm an Arsenal supporter. But yeah, the whole Toasted Ravs thing. Being from St. Louis, look, they've all probably come in the whole Instagram side of it. It's like, what do you think of the Toasted Ravs? I've seen all the videos.
Yeah.
If you were to recommend a food that was a St. Louis food to one of the boys when they first came in, what would it be?
Gooey butter cake, hands down.
Okay.
It's like crack,
that is
bro.
unreal.
It's so good.
Yeah.
It's like you're going to get diabetes after one piece, but it is outrageous.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
For anyone that doesn't know, a gooey butter cake is like kind of like a cheesecake, but it's thinner and like a little bit like crispier, but oh my gosh, it's just a bunch of cream cheese and powdered sugar and it's so good.
Yeah, it's nuts. I remember the first time I had it and like you said, you're just like, oh my, the sugar rush is ridiculous.
Honestly, like just going to a Schnucks, which is like our local grocery store, we go into a Schnucks and buying a gooey butter cake and it's like, that's all you need.
Yeah. Have you been into the Schnucks with the robot things?
Yes, crazy. Dude, I was at a Mexican restaurant and they had a robot that like would deliver your food to your table.
I've heard about that.
Nuts. I was like,
did it actually put it on the table?
It had it was like the tray on the top and like it would like literally like. So what I don't understand is the robot would cart your food to your table and then someone would walk over and like hand you your food.
Right. So it's just like, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly. Like the person still needs to be there, you know. Yeah. But
yeah, no, the story of when I first saw one of those in Schnucks, I was just, because I've not seen them in any other, like you go to Walmart, Aldi, whatever, never seen anything like it. And it was like a Black Mirror episode, because it was just me in the aisle. I've turned down the aisle and this thing it was standing still at first in the middle of the aisle.
Uh-huh.
And I've gone and I'm like, that's weird. I thought it was a sign,
Yeah.
like it just said something on it like closed or, you know, wet floor or something. And it turned and it started coming my way. I was like, what is going on right now? And that's like one of the only time or few times when I've said stuff out loud when I've been in public and nobody's around me. I'm not talking to someone, and I was just there, just going, what is going on?
Yeah.
And terrified me. They still get me. I like
because they're low too, so like you don't really see them. Like out of the corner of your eye, you won't see them, and then like as they're getting closer, you're like, oh, that's moving. What is that?
Oh, they're different ones. The one that I saw was like a thin.
Oh, was it?
Like stalk. It was tall. Yeah, it's taller than me. That's why it was coming at me. I was like, what is happening?
This towering presence.
Yeah. Oh no, they really freaked me out. There was another one where it just went to turn down the aisle again, and it's just there, and I was like, whoa, okay, that's relax. That's just doing it.
Closing in on
But
you.
it just go. They'll just go at you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it stops. I guess it's got sensors on it.
Yeah.
But I'm not.
Kinda like
I'm
a
not
Roomba.
risking it. I'm like, let's get out of the way of that. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we got one of those things now.
Really?
Those Roombas. But we've got like a basic one. He's a bit simple. It just gets stuck on anything.
Nice.
Then just starts beeping, and I'm just like,
Practically
I should have
useless.
just done this myself. Yeah. Oh dear. That's funny. So we touched on gooey butter cake. You're big into your cooking.
I am indeed.
And I saw you got a wrap when we first got here.
Yeah.
There's some green stuff in there. I don't know what was going
A
on.
little avocado wrap, yeah.
Nice. I've only recently got into avocado hype.
Dude, avocado I think is my favorite vegetable. Or maybe it's a fruit. I don't know. I think it's technically
Because
a
it's got
fruit
that
because of the
massive
seed.
pit.
Yeah.
Or seed or whatever, yeah.
Yeah, but no, avocado is hands down my favorite.
See, like, I for years, it's one of those where your parents are like, well, it's good for you, you should eat it. And I've always just been like, no, it freaks me out, like the texture or something. And then Zach came into town.
Yeah.
And he was like, yeah, because I always make eggs, scrambled eggs on toast.
Dude,
You've
some
seen-
avocado toast with eggs.
Well, that's what I'm doing now, and I'm just like, this is a game changer.
Yeah, 100%.
And it's something about I don't even know how to explain it. You can feel that it's like the good fats and stuff like that. It's in the bite.
Dude, it's kind of like a healthy mayo, if you think about it.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a game changer.
Yeah.
I don't know why I didn't
I'll make
eat
a
it
killer
before.
guacamole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I'm still at my beginning of my avocado journey.
On toast
It's
only.
just to spread it on toast so far. I mean, I do like guacamole. I just don't know how to make it.
Yeah.
Cooking, being on your own is hard. I remember when we were at Mo State, you were all over it. You'd cook for the whole apartment, right?
Yeah, pretty much. So I worked it out with my roommates where we'd all buy groceries collectively and just like divide it by 4. And then I was like, if we do this, like I'll cook dinners
I'm
for us.
just head chef.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'll cook dinners for us, but like you're just gonna eat what I make. And
Yeah.
they were like, all right, deal. Like I'm about to
Solid.
cook dinner.
Yeah.
So now I'm really good at, and the thing is too, is by my time, like the end of my time at Missouri State, I was cooking for my apartment, plus Nicola was coming up from his apartment and eating with us.
Oh, I think I
plus
remember that.
Courtney was eating with us as well.
Yeah.
So like I was cooking for 6 people every night.
Yeah.
So I was like, this has prepared me for like being a parent so well.
Yeah, true. I didn't even think about that. It's a massive thing that I, largely undervalued when I was in college. I'd make like the most basic things, and then first thing is if you got friends, you've eventually got to cook for them at some point. But like I was just like I can barely cook. Like I'll cook horrible meals for myself, but I'll eat them just because I'm like food.
I've already
I need
made
to
it,
eat something.
yeah.
I've made it. I'm not that bothered. But if it's for other people, it gets embarrassing. So we've just started like a meal kit thing
Those are really nice.
that help a lot.
Yeah.
So I feel more accomplished, but it's still like if you took away those recipes and the ingredients, I'd be like, don't really know where to go from here. But yeah, it's something that I guess what a good question would be: what's your biggest hobby outside of football? Because I know you play. I don't want to mess this up. Is
Cello?
it cello?
Yeah.
I knew it was a string instrument. I was
Yeah.
going to say violin, but then obviously that's tiny.
No, I've played the cello since I was, I think, 5th grade or 5th or 4th grade.
So how old are you in fifth
So
grade?
like
Sorry.
9 or 10 years old.
Right.
Started in elementary school and then carried it all the way through high school. And then kind of after high school, I went through like spurts where like I'll get really into it for like a month or 2 and then it'll just like die off for 6 months. And then it'll just kind of like ebb and flow like
So
that.
when you first started learning, do you have classes?
Yeah, so like it was all through my school. So
Right. Yeah.
the school that I went to, I think it was like like every Wednesday or something like that, you would meet and like you do lessons, kind of like with like a whole orchestra type deal.
Yeah.
And then I also did private lessons on my own, like at my house. Like someone would come to my house and like we'd do stuff. But I did that all the way through. And then like once you get to middle school, it becomes like one of your classes. So like every single day you just go to orchestra. And they
cool.
have
You get credits for that as well?
yeah. It'll be like your whatever fine art credit or whatever.
Right.
So like all the way from middle school through high school. So I guess how old are you? I guess you're 12 when you're in middle school. 12,
Right.
11. I guess 11.
So that's like beginning of secondary school for us.
Yeah. So like from then through high school when I was like 18, or no, sorry, yeah, 18. I did this class like every single day.
Right.
So like 5 days a week.
Wow.
So
Got proper good at it.
yeah,
But they're the same. So I've dabbled, not very well, with different instruments. Trumpet was the big one for me when I was younger. And I got to like, I don't know if they do grades here. Is it the same? I guess maybe that's a universal thing for musical instruments in terms of you have to go and do like your grade 1 exam and then do grade.
That's not a thing anymore.
Okay, so that's different.
Yeah.
Right, so we had like, you'd have to go through, and I think grade 7 was like, you can play this, like you're the boss at this instrument. And I never got anywhere near that. I got to like grade 2, and there was a whole semester where my parents were paying for the class. Mm-hmm. It was during school time, so you'd like dip. It was different. Didn't count as your class. You'd go out of your normal learning to go to like this 30-minute trumpet session, for me at least, trumpet. And they paid for a whole year, and I didn't go to any of them, and I thought I was getting away with it. I guess the end of the year, or end of the semester, and the tutor or the teacher, he phones up my parents and he's like, so is Jack going to be coming back next semester? And my parents were like, he's been enjoying the trumpet. And he's like, oh, I just thought I'd ask because he hasn't turned up all semester. And they're like, okay. So I got back and obviously got an absolute rollicking from my parents. And their punishment was they made me do a whole semester of going to class. I had to go to every one. And that
good on them though.
Yeah, no, fair play. I think now that we've spoken about it since, my mum's like, when that happened, I sort of, like, after they'd sort of been harsh to me and I'd left the room, my mum said she was just laughing. She was like, yeah. Like, she was like, I'm annoyed, but that's kind of like, yeah, fair enough. He doesn't want to play it. So we'll make him do that for the next semester. And then that was it. That was the end of my trumpet. But now I'm like, now I kind of regret it.
It would have been so cool to play an instrument. Yeah,
I regret it
100%.
because I'm listening to like even hip hop songs now or rap songs. Yeah. And the tunes that I like always seem to have trumpet backing tracks. I'm like, imagine if that could have been me. I could have been on Metro Boomin at St. Lucie. But no, so that was my little dabble with the trumpet.
I got really into it during COVID, and like I was doing this thing where I would like learn a song and then I just put it on my story, and then eventually people started giving me requests, and so like I learned like Roddy Ricch, the Box on my cello, like a whole bunch of just like random stuff.
Well, that's perfect, isn't it? The beginning, at the beginning.
So like I learned a whole bunch of just like random stuff. That was probably like when I was like the most into it, was just COVID because I had like nothing else going on.
Yeah, nothing else going on. Yeah, no, that's fair enough. One of my best mates used to do cello when he was younger as well. He did it until grade 7 or whatever, and he used to tell me, he's like, I really want to get he was telling me about like see-through cellos or something.
Oh, they've got these like electric ones where it's like it's almost not even a thing. Like it's literally just like the middle bit with like the strings, and there's no like side thing.
Oh, really?
It's crazy.
Oh, wow.
Or like if
it
is like there's a side thing, and then like it's just there's nothing in between. Like it's just the outer bit. They're
crazy. I think I might have seen some photos of those. Oh, that's funny. Stuff like that is. COVID was a time when you just had to find other stuff to do, wasn't it?
Any hobby.
Yeah.
Anything to keep your mind going.
I can do a Rubik's Cube now. That was never going to happen before.
I did learn how to do a Rubik's Cube as well. I've completely forgotten how to solve one, but at one point I did.
So I've got it, and I just leave it around the apartment. And I used to live on my own. The first semester I came up here, I lived alone, and then Casey would come around whenever. And she'd just, whenever she saw it completed, she'd just mess it up, and I'd just be like, But it actually made it like it was good because it sort of ingrained it. Because every now and again I'd have to do it again. But she's not letting me leave it outside in the apartment now. She's like, that just looks stupid. Why is that there? Let's get that away. So it doesn't quite happen as much. But yeah, might lose that skill. Is there any other hidden talents you got?
I love to cook, honestly. I guess it's not really hidden because you kind of touched on it before, but like love to cook. That's kind of been my, that's my pastime. And especially there's one day when we had just moved into this apartment and I was like, man, I'm craving some pretzels, like a nice soft pretzel. I was
like the doughy ones, right? Not the little.
No, it's like the doughy ones. And I was like, guess I'll just make them. So I just made like homemade pretzels, and we had some sausages in the fridge, so it just turned into like pretzel buns with like sausages.
It turned into Oktoberfest.
Yeah, literally it did, and I was like, oh, this is magical. No, but I think my wife Courtney is very happy about that skill.
Yeah. See, that's me and Casey. Neither of us have that cooking ability, so I don't know what we're gonna do when it gets to crunch time, and it's like someone's got to cook for the kids or something like that.
YouTube helps a ton. Like I've learned so much.
Is there because I've seen Tasty as a channel.
Yeah,
it's got quite simple.
Yeah,
recipes.
they do like a lot of like simple ones. But that's probably a good starting point. But there's a guy called Brian Langerstrom, and he's actually from St. Louis.
Really?
But, yeah.
Oh, cool.
And he does like a really good, like you learn so much. He's a former chef that has like worked in the industry for like a while, and he actually worked at Union Loafers. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's a really good dude. They do outrageous pizza. Yeah, and like other like baked goods, like they make their own bread and their own cookies and stuff. But he worked there for a while. I think he helped like found it almost.
Oh wow, cool.
But he does like this series called Weeknighting, and like just your classic like weeknight meals, like mom's lasagna and stuff like that. And he just like walks you through recipes, and he like gives you a lot of like input of like what people like chefs actually do, and so you're getting like all the little tips and tricks too.
Behind the scene, behind the curtain.
It's super nice.
That's I'm gonna have to look that up because there's only so many of those box meals that they start to be quite similar. It's like it's a pasta with it's like a linguine with just a different meat, or it's a taco with different filling or something like that. So I'll have to give that a look.
Yeah, for sure.
We just spoke a little bit about hobbies outside of football. Going back to schedule wise, do you train always in the morning and then you have sort of the afternoon off?
Yeah, so most of the time, just depending on like it might be a case where like you travel and then you play and you'll train in the afternoon after you travel, or it might be a case where there's something going on in the morning and you just have to push back training.
Right.
But I'd say like the standard day is I usually get in at like 8:30.
Right.
I'll change, have breakfast, and then you'll kind of have like an hour to do like any treatment, activation that you need. And then you'll do like a lift and train, and then shower, any treatment you need, and then eat lunch, and you can go home. Usually I'm home around like 2-3 o'clock every day. But yeah, you'll have the rest of the afternoon, evenings to do whatever you need.
I might have just missed that. Do you have lunch at the training ground as
well?
So
like they provide breakfast and lunch, which is super nice.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What have you got any like staples to go tos?
Dude, pretty much I eat the same thing every day. I'm kind of boring, but
I'm the same.
Yeah, so I'll do a veggie omelet with some blueberries and strawberries for breakfast, and then for lunch I'll always do a salad with like literally every vegetable they have at the salad bar, and then they'll usually have like a fish or a chicken, and I'll just throw that in the salad with it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm sort of the same in terms of, I mean, you've heard me say it multiple times, scrambled eggs on toast is like pre-game meal.
It's iconic.
But like other stuff, I would just, if I was living alone, I would just make the same thing every dinner.
Yeah.
There was a time like when I would just make like spaghetti and meatballs, and it's like, right, that's dinner tonight, that's dinner tomorrow, and it's like I just make
a massive batch.
Exactly, I just make like overcook, and I'd be like, right, well, I guess I'll just eat that for the next 3 days. So it's I don't know whether that's that routine. Have you got any superstitions? I guess because that sort of all plays in. If for me, there's that pre-match meal that I always go for.
Yeah.
I haven't got any in terms of putting on a left boot first or tying off shin pads or whatever.
I'm not really a superstitious guy, but I think like professional athletes are just creatures of habit. Like everyone's got their designated spot in the film room. Like you don't sit in someone else's seat, you know.
Right.
Like,
really?
Athletes are creatures of habit to a T. Like no one likes change whatsoever.
Yeah.
And so, because like you get into this routine, you get like into like what's comfortable, like what helps you perform, and so no one wants to change anything.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of the times. But like for me, honestly, I love eggs as a pre-match meal.
Yeah.
That's one of my go-tos.
I mean, it's really, it's not just because I like it, it's good for you as a athlete, I guess, footballer.
For sure.
In terms of the release of energy over time. And well, how often are you eating before? Because I used to always do 3 hours before.
Yeah, I think 3 hours is usually pretty standard as well.
Yeah.
Dude, it feels like when you're on a away trip, all you do is just like sleep and eat. That's just like the standard thing. Because like it's sometimes you're just like, because you got the breakfast, you've got lunch, then you got pre-match meal, and then after the game you eat. And you're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, so we touched on kickoff time, and you said you don't really like, well, not that you don't like them, but they're your least favourable, the 7:30 ones, because you got the whole day.
I hate a late kickoff.
I've only just sort of got to that point of, right, this is just, because you're waiting around all day.
Yeah, you just want to play.
Exactly, you want to play, get it out of the way.
Yeah.
And it's also, when you're playing at that time, like you said, if you've got that adrenaline buzz, it affects your sleep as well. You're not sleeping until who knows when.
Well, that and you can't do anything for the entire day because you're like,
Yeah.
I don't want to like tire myself out or do anything before the game, so I'm gonna sit around.
Yeah, no, there's a killer.
A 1 o'clock kickoff is my favorite.
Yeah,
it happened. There was, I think, during the COVID season at Mo State, like that spring, we had like a handful of 1 o'clock kickoffs. Like that's my favorite. Like you wake up, you have breakfast, you get changed, you do pre-match meeting, and then boom, off to the field. It's just perfect. And then you have the whole rest of your evening to do whatever you need.
Yeah, no, I'm completely in the same boat there. The only thing with the earlier kickoffs are the meal times. I remember a quote from Rio Ferdinand. He was like, the worst thing, this is pretty out of touch for when he said it, but obviously being a professional footballer, there's not much bad about it. But he said the worst thing about being a professional footballer is having pasta for breakfast. And it's so true. If you've got to do like a proper meal at that time, not necessarily for the 1 p.m.s, because what you're doing, maybe 10 a.m. you have a pre-match meal.
Yeah.
But sometimes we've had like early kickoffs.
At Mo State, we've definitely had pasta for breakfast a couple times.
And it's just like you're forcing, like, maybe once or twice you're like, okay, I can deal with this. But if it happens more, you're like, this is an effort.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, that's something that I just remember seeing and thinking. When at the time I didn't really understand it because I haven't played football or soccer to the level where that would be affected. But yeah, it's true. It is a weird part that's tough about being a soccer player or wanting to be a soccer player. So, are there any supplements and stuff like that on game day? In terms of every now and again, I'll have an energy gel at half time, or lots of people. I mean, the myth, well, not even myth, the tradition of a half-time orange slice in England is massive.
Is it?
Yeah, have you not heard that?
I mean, when you're a little kid, you have orange slices in America, but...
So that was a whole thing. It's the same. I remember the first time one of the dads came along with orange slices, I was just like, what is going on? But, yeah, so stuff like that. Are there supplements that they provide you?
Yeah, so they've got, like, when you walk into the weight room, they've kind of got, like, a shelf of, this is all, like, approved by the MLS, and that's why they want you to, like, use their stuff, so, like, you don't have, like, any false positives or anything. Yeah, it's all checked and approved by the MLS, and it's all clean. But they've got, like, protein powders, they've got magnesium, they've got fish oil, vitamin D supplements, they've got multivitamins. They've got like collagen, they've got all the stuff like laid out. So whatever you need supplement wise, they've got it. And then they've got like the gel stuff for games. Honestly, I'm not really a caffeine person, so I don't really do any like pre-workout or any of the gels. And like thing is, being a goalie too, like it's not like you're sweating so much that you're cramping most of the time. And so like usually I'll just do water and like body armor.
Yeah.
It's like the stuff that I do for a
No
match.
prime chucked in.
No.
Have you tried it? It's so,
no, I haven't.
So sweet.
I haven't.
Yeah. No, okay, so that was, I mean, yeah, that bit about being a goalkeeper makes sense in terms of you're not sweating out those electrolytes necessarily as much as somebody who might be sprinting around, especially in a high pressing team, the amount that they might sweat out. I've always been interested in that side because, you know, you've got your protein powder. I remember branched chain amino acids were a big thing. Creatine, is there any
They've
creatine
got creatine
in
there.
Yeah. I remember in the I think it's the Ian Wright book, he mentioned how when Arsene Wenger first came over, that was one of the, they'd give him like a creatine tablet, and it like helps your like explosiveness if you take it consistently. So when I saw that, I was like, if they're doing it, I've got to do it.
Starts bashing the creatine.
Bang. Massive next week. No, I'm just kidding. So yeah, and then the vitamins and mineral parts of it, that's interesting. So vitamin D's, I mean, the sun, right, is the most natural source of it.
Yeah, it's good for like your immune system, and then like I also do fish oil as well.
Yeah.
So like the omega-3s and then omega-6s.
Yeah, those are, So the rest of it you just try and get from your meals, I guess.
Yeah, for sure. I eat a lot of like greens, kind of I said, but.
Yeah, and do you do, like, is there a dietitian who says this is what you need to try and aim for, or how does that sort of work?
I mean, it's kind of like by player, but like so like all of the meals at the facility, like a nutritionist approves all of them. So like, because like usually in the morning I'll be talking to like one of the chefs and stuff, and she was telling me that like they'll come up with like a menu, then they'll share the recipes with the nutritionist, and the club nutritionist will like approve or say like, oh, you need to change this to like meet all the dietary needs or whatever. So like everything that they provide, they do a really good job providing all the stuff, and it's like top of the line. There's so many guys in the facility that say like, of all the MLS clubs I've been at, like this is hands down the best food that I've had. So yeah,
that's good.
I'm getting spoiled my first MLS club, so the bar is set. But and then like also if like a guy on the team like wants to do something different, or like wants to like lean down or do anything with their diet, they can talk to any of our like strengths coaches, and they'll help them with that.
And strength and conditioning. At Mo State, I remember seeing you do a plank with like 3 45-pound weights on your back, and just watching it and just going, what is going on? I can't imagine that it's similar to how Coach Frey did it at Mo State.
No, it's a little different. It's a little different than the 3-plate days, but now it's more of like.
It's bloody impressive. I'm not sure I could get to that.
I appreciate it. You definitely
Anybody
could.
who's watching that, go and try it. 3
No, 45. Don't try it. You're gonna have lost it on your
maybe
hand.
not straight away. Maybe try and build up to it.
No, but like a lot of it is just like just focusing on like strengthening like hamstrings, like adductors, and then it's all about like maybe lighter weight, which is like quicker movements.
Yeah.
And just like kind of like strengthening than like really getting like the bulk, you know?
Yeah. Because all of those things coming from. So I was never in an academy back home, and if you're trying to get to that level, you always, like we said, 1%'s are massive. So you're always looking at different things. And I asked my mate who was in the academy, like what they were doing in the gym, supplement stuff I try and look up and try and find online, all that sort of stuff. So yeah, there's just so many things that go into potentially creating like that athlete. There are players that won't pay attention to it, like we mentioned at the beginning. 100%. We sort of just like, nah. And sometimes they're naturally gifted enough to get away with it.
There's some guys who are just like,
that's the annoying one,
eating like crap, and they're still just bossing on the field, and you're like, all right, fair enough.
Yeah. No, that's funny. So, but it sounds like you're pretty on top of all that stuff.
I try to be.
Yeah. No, I mean that's like you said at the beginning. If it's there, you might as well use it. So yeah, fair play. Let's dive into. I know we've dived into a lot already. I'm using that word. But I want to hear a bit more about your sort of progression. How did you end up going to Mo State? Were there other options on the table? Obviously, you're in St. Louis, so you're in Missouri already. But how did you go from Limburg High School? Yeah. How did you go from there to Mo State? How did that come about?
So pretty much my kind of whole like college recruiting process kind of happened pretty late in my senior year. Going into my senior year, my club team made regionals, and so one of the coaches from Western Illinois University saw me there and was kind of like recruiting me there, and I did a visit and all that stuff, and I liked the school, but like it was kind of a smaller school in like a really small town in Illinois.
Right.
And I was like, I don't know if this is really the fit for me.
Yeah.
But at that time, that was the only Division I offer I had, so I was just holding out, kind of waiting.
Yeah.
And then my keeper coach back home, Dwayne Clopel, he reached out to Leamy and said like, hey, I've got this guy.
Big John.
Yeah, Big John Leamy. And he's like, I've got this guy. Is like, there any way that you're like needing a goalie, yada yada. And apparently the third had just like quit.
Right.
So they needed to bring in a third, and it was kind of late in this, like I guess to bring one in, recruit for my class. And so luckily the keeper coach at that time, Corey Hirschenroder, he was from St. Louis. So like he saw me during winter break. He came out to a training session and then invited me to like visit campus, and then met with Siebold and Leamy and kind of talked with them. And then like a week later I committed, and it kind of all happened from like January to February with Mo State. And like I think it just fit what I was looking for so much more.
Yeah, that's a like similar sort of time frame to how mine was as well. So I remember Seabelt came out in December or something, and I was there in January.
Yeah.
Like it's such a quick turnaround. Obviously that doesn't happen for everybody.
No.
So that you were sort of in a mind frame? That is a word, right?
Yeah.
I've just had a brain fart there. It's just gone. Yeah. Headspace. That's a better one. Of D1 is where I want to go.
Yeah, I felt like that was a level that I could play at, and that was kind of where I was focusing a lot of my attention, like just sending emails out to coaches and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And luckily enough, I was able to get into a school that was Division I, and then.
Do you think that mainly came through connections or through like making that effort to go out and email?
I mean, honestly, a little bit of both. Like, and also I think it was right place, right time as well. Like if you think about Western Illinois, like I was just at regionals, and the coach just happened to like watch us play. You know, that was more right place, right time. Where Missouri State was more of, I kind of have just emailed all these coaches. I'd gone to camps and nothing had really come about, and it was just a phone call from a keeper coach to just because he had a former goalie that had played at Missouri State, Matt Pickens. So it was one of those things where he just reached out, and that connection helped a ton, you know.
Because I get a lot of questions from players trying to get into college or university, and I always find it hard to say how to go about getting recruited, because it's a bit of a difficult one. Because like you said, sometimes it's stuff that's not even necessarily within your control. Yeah. Like somebody coming into a game that you're playing at, and you don't even know who he is. Obviously, you've got no control of that, and it always comes down to either connections or like your effort, and it's that combination of both. Putting yourself out there, having a highlight reel, having communication with different universities, different coaches, and then those connections. That's harder for international students, obviously. Yeah. Because if you're in America, you know people in St. Louis, like the guy who got you in at Mo State. Yeah. Whereas if you're international, it's like
that can't happen.
I mean, it's more and more is happening in terms of, say, somebody knew me from back home. Now they've got a little connection out here, and more players are coming over, but it's a lot less likely, especially in terms of coaches, because that transition doesn't really happen.
For sure.
After you got into Mo State, you had a red shirt year?
Yeah, so I redshirted my freshman year. My second year, I backed up Liam, who he started my freshman and sophomore year. And it was one of those things where I went into my sophomore year and I was like, maybe I can like push him, and like maybe get a sniff in a game or something like that. And then he went and just had like a lights out season. I think at the end of the year, he got voted like MVP for like the team. And I was like, well, that plan didn't work out. But it was one of those things. He graduated, and then it was like the position was there to win. And I got the opportunity to play. In 2018, I had an all right season. It was one of those where I think it had been like 2 years since I like consistently played games.
Oh, yeah.
And I was just afraid of making mistakes. And I think like playing with that fear, I just wasn't playing to like my best ability. Like it's so hard to like be playing well when you're playing afraid. Right. And I think it wasn't until 2019 where I was like, our team was so good. I was like, if I make a mistake, like it's not the end of the world. Like we can get through it.
Someone will dig me out.
Yeah, exactly. And it was kind of like, that was the beginning of where I was like starting to play with some freedom. And then I was like, it didn't matter how good the team is or not. Like I felt confident enough in my own abilities where I was like, if I make a mistake, like it's not going to be in the world. It's not going to define me.
Yeah.
And I can just like go out there and just like play.
And that's when you got those 45 accolades.
I guess so. Yeah.
You touched on two big things for me: consistency in terms of playing, or regularity is maybe the better way to put it, and confidence.
Yeah.
As I've got older and myself been through a roller coaster ride of a journey, those are two things that come back to me, and I'm like, you've got to put yourself in the best situation you can where those are regular. Consistently playing is so important, and we were both went through situations that was 2 years right before you consistently started playing. Mine was 2 years before I started playing at Drury. Well, 3 years actually, because it was COVID.
Yeah.
That's a whole different story. And then confidence is so big as well. I remember when I first got to Mo State, I was extremely intimidated by the lads. Well, not when we were off the field, everybody was really nice, but when we were on it, the calibre of player there, and especially the ones that I sort of saw had done the same journey as me, the international boys, were all ex-academy players.
Yeah.
And so I was so intimidated by that. I remember Ingram was like, I was just
he's
so
terrifying,
scared of him.
He'd yell at me all the time.
Scared of him.
All the time.
But that, like, I'm not saying necessarily that I would have gone in and maybe even had a different effect, but it certainly affected my performance on the pitch and confidence.
Yeah.
Because I was just scared. Like you said, if you're scared on the pitch, you tense up. You don't play as well as you know you can, and it's a massive part that what I try and say for each, like, players sometimes ask, like, how can I have more confidence or in a game or something like that, and I'm sort of like, forget all the difficult stuff. First 5-10, just do the basics.
Yeah.
Focus on the basics, because as soon as you're all good enough, if you're at a certain level, to make a 10-yard, 15-yard pass 10 out of 10 times accurately, and then it's like, right, I've done that, I'm in the game. Like we mentioned earlier with Berkey coming in, taking taking a breath and just relaxing and going, right, I'm meant to be here, let's play. So I think that's funny that's come up in your career as well as mine, and I'm glad he managed to get that confidence and go on and smash it at Mo State.
And like I would also say is like finding hobbies and like things you enjoy outside of the game as well, and not putting like your worth in how you train that day. Because like that is going to be a roller coaster of emotions that will break your heart, because no one's gonna perform well all the time. And when you aren't performing well, it's just gonna like push you deeper into a hole. So if you have those releases outside of soccer, then you'll be able to, like, if you have a bad day, then you'll, in training, and like things haven't gone your way, then you can kind of leave that on the field and able to move on, or like find a release and like express your emotions in another aspect or avenue. And like finding that balance, I think, is like really key to having like longevity in your career. I think that's a great piece of advice. Probably something that I need to take on a little bit more as well. I'm a bit soccer focused, but like this is, even though we're all talking about soccer, it's not about playing on the field. It's doing something separate, something creative. 100%. And I think it's, like I said, it's finding the right balance, because like you need to have that drive, you need to have that motivation and dedication to like put your all into this thing, because like if your dream is to play in college or to play beyond college, like you're gonna need to put the time in and the time and the effort, but it's also finding the balance where like you're not sacrificing like your mental health as well, you know?
And I think it's odd now, because I remember something from Gary Vee, do you know who that is? Gary Vaynerchuk, and I remember I made my own graphic for it, because I thought, that's it, and it was triple down is what he said, like not even doubling down on yourself but tripling down, and that's like the opposite of what we've just spoken about. That's like going all in, like extra, over the top, and like you said, if you have a bad day in training and that's all you're focused on, all you're committed to, then you are just going to spiral. So so much healthier and better for your mental health, like you mentioned as well, to have those other hobbies, those other interests that you can just sort of even just switch off for a little bit and think about something else and just get on with doing whatever you want to do. I've recently got a golf set for free.
Love that.
Found it on Facebook Marketplace. I was
Love
like,
that.
you know what? I'm taking it. And I'm not great at it, but it's something like, it's outside that I think is massive. It's, you know, a couple hours and you're not really thinking about anything else. And you can find that in anything, and you can find that in cello, you can find that in cooking, you can find that in reading, literally anything. So yeah, amazing advice.
Appreciate it.
Last little question.
Right.
Wait, I told you to prepare for it just briefly. I haven't given you much time, so my whole thing here on the channel is love of the game, as you know.
Lachi.
Big, massive fan. I'm very thankful. He's been one of the guys from the beginning who's sort of encouraged it.
Day one subscriber.
Day one, and that's why he always goes like that. So what made you fall in love with the game, or keeps you in love with the game of soccer?
I think just for me, like, I still remember the moment I fell in love with being a goalie, and I was in first grade, so I'm like 8 maybe.
Right.
And we're playing on the soccer field by our school after school, and like I had made a diving save and I was on the ground and there was a rebound, and then like someone had shot the rebound like right away, and I got up and like made the second save, and like everyone was freaking out. I was like, oh my gosh, like I can't believe you made that save and all that stuff. And that buzz you get when like you make a save that no one expects you to make, and just everyone's in like an awe, like that moment, that feeling is like something that's just so addicting. And like I can close my eyes and just like feel that same feeling, and it's one of those things where like words can't describe it, and it just makes you like want more of that. And I think like as I've gotten older and like the stakes have gotten more, that's just like the buzz just gets higher and higher, you know. And at a certain point as well, like it's become one of those things where it's brought me some like brothers for life, you know. And just like the community that I've built through soccer and like the memories that I've made are just things that like I'll carry with me forever, you know. And like I just think now, like I've had some horrendous training sessions where it's 40 degrees outside, it's pouring down rain, it's miserable, but you're having fun with your buddies, and like that shower afterwards, like think about an away game where you've just won 1-0 on the road, it's been pouring down rain, you played in the mud, and then like everyone's in the locker room banging on the lockers, singing, and then you're taking a nice hot shower and you're on the bus home. Like those are the things that like you get goosebumps talking about. Like for someone that doesn't play soccer, you might think like that's ridiculous, I would never want to be outside. But it's like those are the memories that you hold with you forever, and like those are the memories that like just mean the most.
Amazing answer. Amazing guest as well. Thank you for being the first one, taking the leap into the unknown, literally, because I didn't tell you anything about it. So yeah, been an absolute pleasure. Cheers,
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it. Look at that.
Wow, that went really well.
That was quality. Thanks for joining in. Yeah, sorry. Halfway through, I was like,
you should have grabbed the snacks.
we really should have. Yeah. Yeah, sorry about that.
No, that was perfect.